Hello and welcome. Cheers to each and every one of you playing this episode. Don't forget to stay in the know, to look out for our social media posts on Facebook and Instagram. The links are in the episode notes. What's up, you guys? I am so happy that you guys tuned in to this episode. I am here yet again with another episode, and I hope this really grabs your attention. Excuse me for being out of breath. My asthma is really bothering me today, and I'm walking around because I have been doing so much sitting down from working from home and doing other things on the computer all day that I just need to sit up and walk around. So please forgive me for the shortness of breath because my asthma, you guys pray for me. But anyways, so we are still in season 2 of the podcast episode Game Mode, because I feel like we are currently in a season where God is calling us to focus and not be distracted. I don't really know how long this message is going to be because I feel like it's short and cut and dry, it's straight to the point. But I don't want you to not get it. So the title of this episode is, as you saw, Don't Miss This. The reason I titled it that is because I don't know about you, but I have been in so many seasons where I'm looking forward to my next that I miss out on what's actually in front of me. And that's why I said that this would be a good topic, because I don't want you to be so expecting of a new season or a new journey or anything that you're going through right now. I don't want you to miss this season and count it out as something that can't potentially bring you value. And I don't want you guys to make the same mistake I did as far as looking at something in a different light, where you're so blinded by this season that you're trying to go to the next season, but you're missing the blessings in what God is currently doing in your life. And that's why I said I don't know how long this message is going to be, because that's the message. That's it. I don't know how else to put it. And it's so good because I remember dating back to when I was waiting for the things that I have now. My apartment, my car, my job, life to be progressing, weight loss journey, just a lot of things that we're walking in expectation with. And sometimes when we get frustrated, we get eliminated, we get flabbergasted, we get tired and overwhelmed because of the things that are going on in our life. But I also want to give you a reminder and let you guys know that when you're frustrated, count that as a blessing, because that not only shows that God loves you, but it shows that the things around you have to change. Because have you ever been, and I think I talked about this previously, about how in a season, things that I used to tolerate, now they aggravate my soul. Like the things that you used to be like, clapping on the back, looking it up and down, shaking hands with it. Now it's just like, oh no, that aggravates me. And then out of the blue, you're just like, well, I don't even know why that aggravated me for real, because I used to can deal with this, or I used to could deal with the way that a person act. I used to could tolerate the way that I see myself. I used to could tolerate being patient. I used to have you ever just been in a moment where the things you used to do no longer attracts you, and it gets you frustrated because now you're evaluating the people around you. Now you're evaluating you. Now you're evaluating your circumstances. Now you're evaluating, okay, well, where is God? And I think that in this moment, that's why I said this message was simple. Don't miss this. Don't miss whatever you're going through. There is a lesson to be learned. And I've learned that the hard way, to be honest. I've learned that the hard way in my life because I've been so ready to go to that next season that I missed a lot of blessings and lessons that the Lord was trying to tell me in seasons where I was uncomfortable, in seasons where I was hurt. I'm just like, Lord, I want this hurt to be over. I want you to take this pain away. But in that pain, I learned how to love myself. I loved how to view myself. I loved how to see. I learned excuse me, y'all. I learned those things. I learned how to be patient, what to look for, what to look for. In those seasons, I learned more about myself than I did about the situation. And I think that that's always a lesson in itself, because as you grow, and I heard somebody say this, I don't know where I heard it from. I was watching something, I think it was Love is Blind. And they said that, when you marry someone, you have to be willing to marry several people. And I was looking crazy because I'm like, marry several people? No, we don't believe in that. But as they started describing or going into details about what they were saying, was because people evolve. And if you're not evolving, you're staying the same, something ain't right. But, you grow with time, you grow with lessons, you grow as you progress in life. And sometimes the old you just outweighs the new you outweighs the old you. So the things and the people that you used to tolerate in this new season of you, that no longer interest you. So now it's trying to find some new friends. The job that fit you in one season may not fit you in this season. So now it's time to find a new job. The apartment that you got in this season may suit you for this, but now if you have kids or you have a dog or you have animals, you need bigger space. So now you got to find a new place because you need more space. So it's just like you go through seasons and you learn to grow. But again, I just don't want you guys to go through a season where you feel like, okay, for one, this is taking far too long. This is not what I expected, right? But we know that God has most definitely our best interest at heart. He has the plan figured out. We have to just stay along the journey long enough to see it through, to just be reminded. That's like I have been in school since the first week of May. And guys, oh my God, it has overwhelmed me because I have not been in school since 2013, since I was in college. And here we are in 2022. I graduated in 2011. So yeah, it really overwhelmed me because I'm having to take 2 classes, one of them for the 3rd time and the other one for a 2nd time. But I'm so hard on myself because I know that in that season when I started college, I was focused, I was driven, I was excited, but life happened to me, right? I lost 2 years of my life, or really a lot of years of my life. I don't even know how many, but I lost a lot when my dad died. And that was the time when my dad died in 2012, right after. So, sorry, I got cut off. But I went to school, right out of high school in 2011. And then I went up until 2013. So, those were new seasons of my life because in that moment, I really was excited about going to school. But I really didn't know how to get there after my dad died because it was just like, I really don't have a purpose to live. I don't have a purpose for life. And I missed out. But I know now that just because this season looks the same doesn't mean it is the same. So just because I'm overwhelmed with school now doesn't mean that I have to revert back to how I viewed school when I first went. Because I'm wiser now, And I also am grateful because I've been trying to go back to school for the last 3 years. And they was just like, no, girl, you got to pay. And I was like, I ain't got no money. But I'm thankful that I'm able to go this year. And so this year I'm really stern and I'm praying that God gives me the strength and the time management skills that I need to get my work done, to stay focused, to pass these 2 classes, to move on to the next 2 classes, to get to the next 2 classes. But I said all that to say, just because the situation may look familiar doesn't mean it's the same. You know what I'm saying? So don't catch that. Like, just because it's familiar and it may look the same doesn't mean it's going to have the same outcome. So just because I feel like, okay, here I am again, overwhelmed with school. I'm down on myself. I'm not driven like I used to be. I'm not feeling it like I used to be. And God had to remind me, well, what is your why? And I remember I talked about this in another episode. What is your why? Your why will keep you going, because I decided to go back to school because I said this is a step towards a different life for not only me, but for my son. That's it. And every time I get overwhelmed, or every time I get upset or I get frustrated, because you guys, I remember like last week, I had 2 assignments Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I bumped into a toy of my child's. But I had homework that took me a week to do. And then once I had to keep coming back to it because I was like, Lord, I'm frustrated. I'm aggravated. I don't know how to do this. And once I pulled back and God reminded me, calm down, take a step away. It's okay. You can do this. I came back. I regrouped. And I ended up checking on my answers for a quiz that I had already submitted. I had like 10 questions, I think, submitted so far to like 50, I think. And I had them all right. So it's like, girl, you sit here getting frustrated. You sitting up here counting yourself out, doubting yourself, reminding yourself of when you went to school before and you failed. And this looks so much like when I went to college the first time, that you sit here doubting yourself and you're counting yourself out. Like, don't confuse this situation with the last situation. Yeah, it may feel familiar. Yeah, it may look similar. Yeah, it may, you at the same school, but sis, this ain't that. Like, and that's why I said, I don't know how else to put it. Don't miss what God is doing in your life just because you're hurt. Don't miss what God is doing in your life just because you're waiting long enough. Don't miss what God is doing in your life because you're distracted. Don't miss what God is doing in your life because you can't see what God is doing in your life. Don't be so ready to move to the next season that you miss this season. That's like if you're single, you look at, oh, I don't have a man, I don't have a woman, I'm ready to marry, I want to have a family. Or if you don't, not even if you're single, if you don't have kids and you want kids, and you're like, oh, I just can't wait till the day I have one. Because listen, I remember sitting up, I remember when my uncle passed, and my heart was just so heavy because my uncle didn't have any kids. He wasn't married. As far as we know, he wasn't dating anybody, and he died so young. And he died from like a health issue, blood clots or something like that. And I remember one night I woke up out of my sleep and I just got overwhelmed because I was like, he was such a sweet person. He was so nice, but he didn't have anybody that lived on to tell his story besides family, cousins and sisters and brothers and his dad. His dad outlived him. His dad's still alive. But I'm just like, I remember telling the Lord, like, Lord, I don't want that to be me. Like, I want to have kids despite, my last situation with the miscarriage, and I want to be able to have a healthy relationship despite my old relationships. And so now that I'm in a situation where I have a son, I always tell myself, when my son get on my nerves, I say, Lord, the child you gave me is really on my nerves today. But in that moment too, I had to realize that there was a day where I prayed for this. And I remember seeing on a lot of people post on Instagram and Facebook, especially Heather Lindsay. She shares it all the time, that you have to be grateful because you're living at least one of your prayers. And I remember that times when I get frustrated with my apartment because, like today, the lights blinked off, And I was just like, what in the world? But it happens all the time. When the dogs upstairs are sliding across the floor and running up and down the stairs. I'm like, but I remember I was praying hard to be back in my own place, so I had to be grateful. When my son get on my nerves and he whining and falling all out, I had to remember there was a time where I got overwhelmed because I thought that I was going to die alone with no kids, no nothing, nobody. Like, I'm just going to be that person. So I'm reminded of the things that I asked for, and God has shown up for me, and I'm thankful. And sometimes I think that we get so overwhelmed that we forget to see the blessing in our prayers and the way that God has answered our prayers. Because sometimes I remember saying to myself, I didn't ask for this. Like when I was pregnant or when my son was going through those sleep regressions, I'm like, I did not ask to be nobody's mama. I did not ask for this. But if I'm being completely 100% honest, which I feel like I can be with you guys, as I always say, I did ask for this. I remember praying and crying, thinking, I'm never going to have a child. Can I even bear a child? Like, what in the world? So to be in a situation where sometimes I take it for granted, or I used to feel like I took it for granted because I just couldn't appreciate, my pregnancy. And I think now, you guys, I want to have another child. I want a daughter. And if I have another son, that's fine too. But I want at least 2 kids. I always said that I wanted 2 kids. After, the whole thing happened with my accident miscarriage, I was like, I don't want to have kids because that kind of scared me. And like I said, don't familiarize yourself, because my pregnancy was so rough. And the whole pregnancy, I doubted. Oh, I'm not going to be able to carry this child again. Oh, I'm going to have a miscarriage. Oh, he's not going to make it. My baby had healthy issue. He was small, you couldn't tell I was pregnant until 9 months or 8 months. And I had so many complications. I was sick the whole time. My legs were swollen. My blood pressure was sky high. I was sick as a dog. And I said, I am not going to be able to carry this child. Like, I'm not going to do it. And God reminded me, yes, you can. This is not that. Don't confuse your past and your hurt with something that I'm blessing you with. And because I did confuse my hurt and my past with the current blessing of my son and being pregnant, I was not able to enjoy my pregnancy. And people ask me all the time, what was your best experience about being pregnant? I said the delivery, the labor and delivery, because I knew my son was about to come out. That was the best thing for me because I had been going through so much. And that's why I said, don't miss this. Don't miss what God is doing because you're in pain, because you're sick, because you're hurting, because you're tired, because it's heavy, because you don't want to carry it, because it keeps you up at night, because you're crying. Don't miss what God is doing so that when you get down later, you're like, oh, I missed the blessing in my pregnancy, or I missed the blessing, I'm speaking in my my terms, I say it all the time. I'm like, I wish I could have enjoyed my pregnancy more had I would have had a different mindset. But because I was so stuck on the hurt and the past and this looks familiar, I couldn't thank God that I remember when I said I wanted to get pregnant what am I saying? I remember when I said that when I got pregnant, I didn't want to gain a lot of weight because I'm, tall, but I know sometimes people can blow up when they have kids. And so I was thankful because even though I was sick, God answered my prayer because that was something that I struggled with because I always struggle with my weight. And I was sick my whole pregnancy. I didn't gain no weight. The only thing I had was stomach weight. I lost a lot of weight. Every day I went to the doctor. They're like, you need to eat. I'm like, I am eating when I can eat. My son does not let me keep anything down. But I couldn't see the blessing in that. I'm thankful. You may like, girl, I would not want to be sick. But I'm thankful that I was sick because had I not been sick and I would have been eating everything, I didn't have an appetite like that. I was thankful because had I wouldn't have the opposite, I probably would have gained a lot of weight. And so that's why I said, sometimes when we're in it, we forget what we asked for. But because we don't think that what God sends us looks like what we asked for, we discount it. Because I didn't think, okay, God, I just told you don't let me gain weight. I didn't say I wanted to throw up 9 months. Nah. I didn't say I wanted bad nausea for 9 months. I didn't say because I got sick. As soon as I conceived, I was sick. I knew I was pregnant. I kind of was in denial, but I knew. And the day that they told me I conceived, I said, I know because this and this happened. And it's been that for, the 9 months that I carried him. But again, now that I look back on it and I have the space to think back to the things that I used to pray for, I'm thankful because I'm like, I used to say that all the time that I did not ask for this, but girl, you did. And so that's all I have for you guys. I hope that you take something out of it. I know if you're a man, you're like, girl, you keep talking about this pregnancy. Or if you're not living on your own, you're like, girl, you keep talking about this apartment. But I'm telling that to me. But you take it and you fill in the blank for wherever you're at in life and whatever God is doing in your life. Because I don't want you to miss this. Don't miss what God is doing because you're too distracted. So I'll see you guys on the next one, or I'll talk to you on the next one. I love you. Just remember to pay attention to the things that God are calling you to, that God's showing you in this season, because this is game mode. We have to pay attention and be ready. Bye, you guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you stay tuned for more episodes. Remember, being grateful makes you gorgeous.